tradition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say is even harder to find.
All right, here we go. What's the name of our podcast? All Things Real Estate. It's been a while. After about 5 weeks of travel.
I keep forgetting to talk about this. Ben actually has the podcast on his YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, we got to fix that.
It looks like
no wonder
it was from 1950s or something.
And that's why nobody will click on it or we don't get followers. So all 5 of us,
Let's go.
All Things Real Estate, and let's get after it.
Yeah, I'm going a little improv today. I didn't bring in any notes, so.
That's okay, because it looks like
Ben's got
is that a recipe for?
Yes, I'm going to tell you what we're making for dinner tonight.
That's great. All right, well, I'm going to jump right into stats, and instead of boring everybody with more of the same, I'm just going to make an impassioned plea that if you guys know anybody that needs to buy or sell, to reach out to us, right? Well, and not
passionate plea.
Yeah, is it passionate, compassionate? A passionate plea, and not because, I mean, one, if you look at our upcoming listings, we have quite a few.
Absolutely,
right? We're very fortunate in that manner. But the reason why I'm doing this, and we can cut it into a clip and put it out there, is because I've seen a lot of consumers, home buyers, home sellers getting less than excellent treatment right now, and it's affecting the amount of money that they're either spending on a home, right, or the amount of money that they're netting on the sale.
I see the same thing, David. Again, when you go back to, you see where there's 13,000 agents in this county and there's only 750, 800 homes on the market. It's very challenging, and you get a lot of agents who have that commission breath where they're worrying about paying their mortgage payment and stuff because they don't do the type of business that we do, right? And I see that same thing where I question myself. We got agents right now. I just had a conversation this morning. I'm like, are you really asking that on behalf of your clients or behalf of yourself? I think we've been in a lot of these situations where you have agents costing their clients money.
Absolutely.
From the listing side to the buyer side. I mean, to maybe your point, I've had buyers agents call up and say, hey, you're listed at 1.5. My client's willing to come at 1.8 million bucks. Write it up. Bring it in. Not knowing that the offer we actually had was 1.6.
Yeah, or maybe there's no other offer.
Or there is no other offer.
Right? And so, yeah, just not asking the right questions.
Totally.
And on both sides of the fence. And so, again, our pipeline looks really good. We got a lot of great listings coming on. But if you know anybody that needs to buy or sell, at least have them talk to us, right? Let us be one of the 3 that they interview, because 9 times out of 10, the consumer is going to see what we bring to the table, the experience that differentiates us from everybody else, and then they end up making the right decision.
The biggest difference between us and I would say a lot of other teams is the prep work that we put into every single listing. We take 0 shortcuts and we do right by the seller every single time. If we spend $1, we're going to get $3 to $5 back.
Right.
We're not wasting the seller's money on silly things up front that are going to get 0 return.
Right.
Agree?
That's a great snippet right there.
There you go. First reel.
Yep. All right.
There you go.
Next up, I want to talk because it's August and we're getting towards the end of the year, and I want to talk about November and a ballot initiative that's coming up. It's called Justice for Renters. And, as you know, California...
Renters don't get enough justice.
Yeah, as you know, California leans very favorably to tenants. And this one, what this law is supposed to do, it's going to basically take away the 28-year-old law. It's the Costa something. I wrote it down. I forget. But the current rent control law that's been in place for 28 years that says you cannot enforce rent control on single-family homes, condos that were built after 1995.
Correct.
So the Justice for Renters Act is going to repeal the current law that's in place and give local cities and counties the right to enact any rent control that they see fit.
Right.
And so, again, we have a lot of clients who are investors. This is something to be aware of because, it's an uphill battle, but it could pass.
Well, isn't the biggest thing about that bill is that it's going to make single-family units up to duplexes, condos, townhomes, non-exempt to where now they will be.
Correct.
Because right now, where you have 5% plus cost of living increase that you can do, and that's where your limited is, that's only on multi-res. Anything over, I think it's 4 units or above, or I think it's above duplexes, right? So if you have a single-family home, you're not really under rent control. Right. And I believe that's really the basis of that too, is that it's going to make all properties non-exempt from rent.
Well, yeah, and they're going to turn it over, and
Yep.
you know, right now how state law supersedes local.
Correct.
It's going to put it back in the hands of the local municipalities.
Why does the state continue to create such an unequal balance between owners and renters?
It's California.
I know, but why?
Well,
Like, are they more for the renter?
yes.
Yes, we're
Not
more
home-
liberal. It's a more liberal state.
But
Cost of living's high.
Liberal equals renters as opposed to home ownership.
Well, in this particular instance, because the cost of living here is so high that they feel that if you don't control how you know the amount that you can increase rent, you're going to push people out of the state because they can't afford to rent here. So forget home ownership for a second, just renting here, right? So blue collar people, you know, teachers, laborers, all that good stuff. If we keep jacking up rents, they can't afford to live here.
It's an effort to just increase affordable housing, right? Which we can all agree that it's very expensive to live here.
Yep.
What I think, you know, it's just when that pendulum goes too far, right? I think when the pendulum goes too far and you're messing with homeowner rights, I mean, it was like during COVID when they came in and said, oh, there's a moratorium on evicting people. So you have a person staying in there for 2 years not paying rent. You fail to forget about the widow whose husband's passed away. She's living on a fixed income, and those properties that her husband and her amassed over the years are the only way that she's living off of. And now she has zero income coming in. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
What I think is really ironic is if you look at the people who are making the laws for home ownership and renters and all of that, chances are they own a house.
and several more than just one, generally.
Yeah.
speaking.
Correct.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a disconnect.
There, no doubt.
Right, but it
And,
comes
this
down.
is not
But
a political.
I understand.
It's not.
It just. I feel like for people
Well,
that are
hey,
under the age of 35,
but you know what,
it
that's-
lacks clarity as to why they're doing it.
100%, and that's where opportunities lie, and that's exactly why we started doing our podcast regarding wealth building and
Yeah.
emerging markets and everything else. Right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Well, I would still be willing to say that no matter what law gets passed and whatever all of these crazy things that we hear about happen, there's still a ton of money to be made in real estate, right? I am
100%.
living, breathing proof. I bought for 1.5 in March. I sold for 2.3 just 3 months later.
Oh, how many offers you get on that?
David, I can't disclose these things until the house is closed.
All right, fair enough.
Yes, real estate is an incredible investment.
All right, my last off the top of my head topic.
Please, they're so good today.
Let's talk about disclosure and bed bugs.
Okay.
And let's see if we can get through this segment without
There's
itching.
there's actually
Itching.
a bed bug disclosure form on rental property.
And
On rental
I've
properties.
never actually seen a bed bug in person.
Well, we're actually going to have one on our next podcast.
You're going to bring it in?
We're going to bring it in.
Like one of the-
Put little headphones on.
He's going to be our guest speaker.
Yeah, our guest speaker next week. So, and you know, all kidding aside, so a seller says, you know, hey, come list my house. I think we have bed bugs. Okay, so they think
In the initial conversation.
in the initial conversation, yeah, I think we have, you know, I'm real itchy and the skin's falling off. You know, it's really weird, and I can't
We
seem to.
represent all kinds.
Yeah, and but you know, they say I think, right, something, you know. So what do you do as an agent? Now, it's not a material fact because you're not sure. So broker Mark, how far down the investigatory, you know, tunnel? Or
Well,
you
okay,
go?
so keep in mind that it is our duty as agents to do a certain amount of investigation if your client brings something up. Mm-hmm. So you got to take it all the way through to determine if I have a client come to me and say, hey, I think I might have bed bugs. I mean, I'm not an expert in bed bugs. I've never had them myself, but I might call in a pest control expert to say, do we have a pest problem here, or a bed bug problem?
should-
But
we should-
to answer your question,
yeah.
though, it does become a disclosure area item.
We should ask the boys first to see what their answers were.
I was actually thinking of that. Well, my answer would have been, if you are unsure, it's always best to disclose if you think it's an issue.
I'm proud of you. That's not what I expected for you to say, but I'm
That's this year's Aaron. Last year's
This
Aaron.
is Aaron with the
He's
baby.
maturing.
I'm the dad.
Yeah.
and Ben.
I was gonna say the same thing. I'm a pretty transparent person, so I would have been like, let's just get to the root of the
And
situation.
Mr. G.
Yeah, the same. Like, you know, get
What
someone
an
in there
honest group
to-
of guys.
We learn from the
Awesome.
best.
There you go.
Wow.
I love it. But yeah, and so you said there is a bed bug disclosure on rentals.
Which is interesting because there's
Right.
not one when you're selling. Although, you know, there's an all-encompassing disclosure. I mean, we know, you know, how many pages of disclosures do we have in a normal transaction? Yeah, probably well over 100.
Yeah, and then I mean that kind of opens up another, like, what if maybe there's fleas or cockroaches? I mean, where do you stop, right?
Well, but that's where the whole disclosure issue comes in. I mean, we've had scenarios where you do an open house, and then sure enough, the neighbor comes in and says, "Oh, did you know about this?
Right.
Did you know about the pest problem that they had in that property. And you're sitting there saying, well, is that a disclosure issue or not? Here's what I always say is, to your point, right? I mean, if you're going to ask the question, you better disclose it. But then you also got to look at it from the seller standpoint. As soon as that buyer moves into that house, what's the first thing that's going to happen? Every neighbor is going to come over and say hi to him and say, by the way, did you know this? Did you know that? And those are those things, regardless if it's truly a disclosure issue or not, those are those things that start the lawsuits where everybody's paying out money, regardless if they're right or wrong.
Right. All right. And then just my last follow-up to that is then, okay, say, client says, okay, I think I've got bed bugs. We say, okay, great. Let's get an expert in there to investigate. And then they eradicate the bed bugs. Do you then disclose?
Yes.
Because they're not there anymore. There's no
There
bed
was
bugs.
previous service done to eradicate.
Yeah.
Good answers. All right, just checking. Make sure keeping you guys on your toes.
But I would like to say one thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the three of us deal with maybe a little bit of a younger first-time home buyer. And a lot of our clients have the question of, well, what if the seller is not telling the truth? And what I would say to that is, if the seller is not telling the truth and we're able to catch the seller blatantly lying, essentially the seller should think about it from the perspective of, if they're on the stand in a courtroom and there's a jury watching, are they going to tell the same story that they're telling us in these documents, or are they going to all of a sudden have a different answer? Right?
Well, and again, going back to who you work with matters, as experienced listing agents, you know what questions to ask walking into it, because a seller's not, and a lot of times the seller doesn't want to share, all those things about their property that they feel may affect the value.
Sure.
So sometimes it's us kind of prying that information out and asking them those pointed questions to get that information to make sure it's fair for everybody.
Well, it's also important for your client to understand, especially when you're taking a listing contract, because in the listing contract, it clearly states that not only do we have a fiduciary duty to represent that seller, but that seller has a duty to be honest and forthcoming for us, so we can properly disclose. And it's clearly it says that in the listing. And I mean, I think all of us take time to explain that to our clients before they sign.
Absolutely.
So
Listen, it's much better to have that conversation now than it is when you're sitting there on the trial.
if you just tell the truth, you'll never have to remember what you say.
Yeah.
I learned
And
that
once
one.
in contract,
we do have Aaron like version 5.
5.9.
and once the property is in contract, the buyer has all the control. Right? The
100%.
seller has no control over the transaction.
That's correct.
So if they find out that you were lying about some material facts or hiding material facts, then they have a right to rescind and they can back out.
Yeah, it's not, and the whole reason why we go through this whole thing, regardless if they're lying, whatever, but it's just if something is found after we go into contract, the buyer has a right to walk away, especially if they're doing those non-contingent offers. What I find really amazing to that subject is we are always adamant that we tear apart that property before we list it, because we want to know about issues before a buyer so we can create a solution to it, right?
Yep.
But in most counties, that's not the case.
Yeah.
In most counties, they
Especially
don't do
states.
inspections. Different states like Texas, they don't do inspections.
Their contracts are so funny. They just cross everything out and then they initial. I didn't know that was normal.
So I got to tell you, as a buyer in those states or
Love
those
it.
environments, absolutely love it.
Lock up
right?
the property and
Yeah, because
then-
I'm going to tear that property apart, and it's like, oh wow, you didn't know.
Well,
this.
if you just go to somewhere like Discovery Bay or Brentwood, they don't do any inspections.
Monterey,
Brent.
would we-
I had a client, we were totally willing to take the property as is. They didn't provide inspections. So then everything that was inspected that came back wrong, we just asked them to fix it.
100%.
And guess what they did? They fixed it. I'm like, you guys are so stupid. If you just disclosed up front, we would have
bought it the way it
bought
was.
it the way it was.
I know. And then the other piece of that, they don't open escrow first. So you don't even get a prelim to see what easements and liens are on a property before you put it on the market.
And if you don't know what a prelim is, a lien is, or any of that stuff, we are here for you.
Yeah, and maybe we should have a
I'll
title
tell you
person come
something
in.
that came up in the office meeting today, and actually came up in the Friday calls that we do with all the agents in the office. And one of our agents got a prelim on a property, and the prelim showed it was a condo. Right? Prelim, right? Prelim is just county records that they give you. So they started marketing this property as a condo. All of a sudden they get down to closing. Guess what? Turns out it's a PUD.
Oh, which is
PUD.
actually a very big deal.
It is a very big
Changes
deal.
your loan, right?
Changes your entire loan. So I mean,
You actually
delays
get a
and
better
everything
rate.
else.
Yeah, exactly.
So my point is, you got to rely on that preliminary title report, because that title report is going to show you everything that property is. Property profile, how many times? I would probably say it's 40% of the time that the property profile is not correct, either in square footage, there might be an ownership glitch or something. All that is a rough collection of data that has been consolidated on one page, right?
Yeah.
Compared to a prelim, which is actual recorded document.
And most of the time, even on Zillow, when you see it, it's not even a collection of data. It's someone inputting the data. So
100%.
it could not even, always
And yet,
cross-check that.
how many of our wonderful clients out there look at Zillow as the Bible of real estate?
Yeah.
The estimate is lower than what we're offering. Okay, well, when it's higher, how come we don't get to offer higher than what they're offering?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I have an interesting situation, and I would like your guys' yes or no takes on it.
just yes or no. We can't elaborate.
You can elaborate, but I want to hear everyone's opinion.
All right.
Okay.
So I represented a buyer with
Is yes or no an opinion? I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
goes to college, comes back so smart and makes fun of me. Anyways,
Random comments from Aaron.
Yeah.
thank you. So I represented a buyer on a condo in downtown San Jose. It's a loft condo, so very high ceilings. The sellers had the inspection done, property inspection done. No issues with the AC. By the time we got into the property, the AC is blowing, but it's very hot air.
Right.
Do a couple tweaks to the AC. AC is working just fine, but the unit doesn't appear to be big enough for the size of
sure.
the,
Oh. Okay.
just because all the hot air goes up,
Right.
Yep.
So bedroom's on the second floor. She can't sleep at night because it's too hot. Sellers never disclosed to us that this was potentially an issue. I find it potentially to be a subjective issue. Maybe some people don't have an issue sleeping in 80-degree temperature. Should this have been disclosed?
No. Actually, yes.
Are you sure,
Again,
G? Is that your final?
It's
answer?
Yeah,
subjective.
that's right.
It's
That's
kind
what
of
I
it's
say.
kind of like the nuisance with dogs barking, right? I mean, to me, a dog barking in the neighborhood might not be an issue, but somebody else might be very sensitive to it.
Nothing is wrong with
well,
the
but hold
AC.
on. I guess I would ask a follow-up question.
Say yes
Have-
or no.
Well, okay,
Go
but
get 'em.
but
Tell 'em.
but if,
Go on.
hold on. If the seller ever had an issue where they called out a contractor to look at that HVAC, then I would say yes. If for the seller it was never an issue, then they don't. It's not an issue for them to disclose because they didn't think it was an issue.
Here's my answer: is if I'm representing the buyer, I already know that on a 2-story place or a place with high ceilings, it's going to be hotter up there, and that's something that we should test. Have the HVAC guy come out, shoot the.
So here's the issue. It works.
Does it blow?
Blows cold.
Okay. Well, then what? Then the only thing to disclose.
I just
is,
didn't stay in the condo long enough to let it go all the
Well,
Is this a new condo?
no.
Yeah, no, that's-
2005.
yeah.
2000.
So heat
It's
rises.
not retaining the cold inside.
Heat rises. So the agent should have been able to ascertain that it's a vaulted ceiling.
Which agent?
Whichever agent was representing the buyer, I would tell my buyer.
All right, opinion over. Go ahead.
No, it did not have to be disclosed. Not at all.
No.
But I will say this: what I love.
But it's a
about,
feeling.
okay, but what I love about, of course, and we've been
yeah.
in a lot of those situations where you can't really do anything about it, but it is what it is. I love David's answer because what did David say? Based off my experience, I know with a loft type of property that might be something you want to have to you check.
Install a ceiling fan or mitigate that a little bit
you
because
go.
it's
Ceiling
getting
fan.
hot in here. Yeah, your favorite ceiling fans.
Ceiling fan.
That I will find applicable at this time because it's not an 8-foot ceiling.
Okay, so
Mark.
let's have this conversation then, because I guess I'm old school with ceiling fans. I don't take them out on my properties, and I got a property right now that's going on with a ceiling fan. So do you
dome
guys,
it, cap it.
Okay, let me ask you this: what about those wonderful little automated toilet seats that are out there?
Nah, get rid of it.
Wait, well, hold on because I
I got a property right now.
I've got a $4,500 total
I don't-
toilet and I love it. I didn't mean to drop the price.
The bidet.
Yeah, bidet.
I didn't want to get personal with
But-
you, David.
But what I do find kind of gross is when you walk into a house and they have the one where they just added the lid.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm.
That's
talking
got to go. That's
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
go.
that's not it.
So
And there's
I have
like
we
pee
have-
on
we have
it.
a client right now where it's coming on the market, and that was our recommendation. But they're like, listen, we just paid $1,500 to, do the modifications to it and everything else. And that's a challenge, right? Where we try to advise our client.
If you spend $1, you need to make $3 back. That is a bad.
All right, so is your feeling that those converted toilet seats turn buyers off?
It's just weird.
It just
bro.
looks.
It is, right?
Someone else's cheeks have been on. You know what I mean? It's just.
But it's a little bit more than a toilet seat.
Yeah,
It's
but
just like it's spraying. It's.
I would say
goofy,
I would
man.
say if they just installed it, you're probably fine. But what I found is that they've been sitting there 2-3 years. Or they discolor differently than the rest of the bowl. It just looks
So
off,
nasty.
right? It is.
You should
All right,
market
so-
it and see how.
Make that the first picture on the MLS.
Ceiling fans and modified toilet seats.
Oh, I have one other thing.
What?
Yeah.
Stop taking, not us, but other people are taking photos of interiors of homes with the toilet seat up.
Oh, I know.
It just
It's like
looks
the worst.
It's like
It's the worst.
Like I'm repulsed by it.
Well,
I'm like,
that's the
What-
first
what
thing
about a
I
high-
do.
close that. Slam it, dog.
That's the first thing I do at open houses.
Yeah,
is
close it and turn the lamps on.
Turn every light on the house and close all the toilet seats. Remember that,
you gotta
G?
hit the lamps.
What are your thoughts on people
That's
using
the-
the restroom at open houses,
dude, that
or
drives
when
me
you're
freaking
touring
nuts.
clients?
How about bringing dogs in?
Okay, hold on. Let's go with the bathroom one
I
first.
got hyper.
You know what? I'm okay if it's a kid who's kind of like an emergency, obviously, right? But
Pregnant
for
woman.
a grown adult to come in and be like, "Can I use your bathroom?" during an open house,
Spend 30 minutes in
and I'll
there.
tell you, it happens all the time. And you're, and then have you ever had it where they don't lock the door?
Well,
and you got people walking around and they open up the door.
I try when I do go into homes for open houses, and if there's a toilet paper roll, I just hide the toilet paper.
that's
sorry.
brutal.
Hey, people don't care, dude. Trust me.
Yeah, didn't they drip
People,
dry?
Go in the
yeah, they
back.
drip
Then
dry.
they'll use
Turn off the water in the
back.
back. Turn off the water in the back of the the toilet.
That's when they use the bidet.
I am on a roll of having people bring dogs into the open houses. I must have 12 in a row now.
Well, what's worse is they don't bring them in and carry them. They bring them in and they walk the dog
I'm
around
like,
the house.
hello?
Courtesy. You know, it's not your house yet.
Why are you bringing the dog into the open house? Don't bring your dogs into the open house.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
God,
We're on a roll.
it's just so weird.
It is. And we love dogs.
What if
Hey,
what if it's a service animal and they have to for?
Don't bring dogs into the open house unless you have a service animal. Please
go.
consult with a
There's your public
licensed
announcement
service
right there.
animal expert. What did I say inventory was going to be at the peak?
Like
Oh, you were so
1800?
16, 1800.
And what are we at?
About 652 single family homes and about, I don't know, 250
I
condo
think all in
townhomes.
were like 800 to 900.
Yeah. Wow. So you're half.
Yeah, you're way off.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time you're wrong.
Actually,
Or the last. Jeets.
Are you looking
yeah.
at all properties on and off market though, or just
Yeah,
on?
I don't look at coming
Is it-
soon.
Yeah. on a-
Yeah,
with
because
coming soon,
with
you're
coming
over
soon,
it
there's
now.
like 300, 400
quite a
homes
few
right
coming
now.
soon.
And that's a great point when we look at this increase of inventory. We know seasonally, summer months, inventory drops down again, right? And then we get a little bit of an uptick in August. But I believe we're not going to see the seasonality thing, although where we see the uptick, I think the uptick's going to be greater than what the seasonality part of it will.
I don't think we're going to have inventory until 2025.
Is that
Well, okay, but what do you
election is
clarify? What do you
2024,
mean by
right?
20
I know.
What do you mean by inventory? Like 33,000 homes?
No, I mean like 1,000 to 1,200 active single family, not coming soon, active single family homes.
2025.
Yep. Next year will be like this year. And until interest rates get down below 5%,
I
we
feel
will
another
have
bet
no
coming
inventory.
on.
Well, that just
Yeah.
presses the point even more that if
I
you're
already
thinking
know.
about selling, this is the time. Like if you have a home that's
It's a great time.
you know, if you're remarkably, attractive, get on the market.
Look what I just did on
Yeah.
Larchmont. I took
Yeah.
a 1,330 square foot home and sold in Blossom Valley and sold it for 1,525.
Vista Del Monte, original condition, $2.8 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
Good prep. Good prep.
good prep.
You prepped it good. I mean, a lot. This
we
is what
staged
this
it.
is what
We
I'll
came
say.
in.
I'll give you a compliment. I would say most agents.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Most agents that took that listing would not stage it. I would say.
You said something earlier today. It doesn't matter what we do on any of our listings, we do the same thing.
Same thing
Yeah.
every.
I don't care if it's a $500,000
I
condo
think-
or a $5 million home.
Yep.
We are going to stage every property.
I
and
would
make
be
it look the best we can. Like you said, if you're pretty, get your ass on the market and
Yep.
get yourself sold for the top dollar that you can. We're the team to do it.
Yeah. No. That was a hell of a sale. That I think
Yeah.
broke a record maybe potentially for price per square foot. That was up there.
Noella.
Manzanita, or what was the court?
That's 95123 record.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But no, that you
If-
went
if
off. in
If
that.
you take all of our properties that we sell as a team, I will guarantee you that our properties we sell, generally speaking, will sell for the highest price per square foot in those neighborhoods because we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we constantly have success records.
Yeah, we're getting more money for our clients, even when the home isn't in the best condition, because
100%.
how we prep the home for sale.
What did we do that on that? We ripped up the carpet.
On which property?
Did some paint.
Vista.
Vista.
Yeah, we
Did some
exposed
paint,
the hardwood floors.
landscape.
This was totally original condition,
Yeah.
original 1952 condition. We pulled up the carpets, cleaned the hell out of the property, painted it, took away some of those distractions, right? That it was dark and everything, and that's pretty much what we did.
What do you
And
think
staged it.
if you do nothing, absolutely nothing, put the key in the door, put a sign out front, what do you think you sell it for?
Where do we list it at?
We were listed at 2399. We would have sold it for 2526.
What did you sell it for?
28.
So you think what we did, spending less than $20,000, net an additional $200?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
10x
listen, we always
ROI.
tell our clients our
think that's
average
great.
as a team, our average per property that we put in of our own money before we even hit the market is $5,000 to $7,000. I mean, that's just with staging, our marketing, and everything else, right?
That's why when David and I went on that listing appointment together in Morgan Hill, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye with the sellers, at some point David and I had to make the decision to just say, like, hey, we're throwing in our own money too.
Right, 100.
Yeah.
It's a business
We don't
relationship.
believe in the product price that you want.
Yeah, and we walked away.
Right, absolutely. Listen, we're
Thank God they
interviewing-
didn't sell.
We're interviewing the client just as much as they're interviewing us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really a two-way street.
For,
right? And
for
that's how it has to
sure.
be.
I mean, Ben's got another story like that too. That house here in LG where you told him where to price it. He went with another agent, started too high, and now it's sitting on the
And
market.
now me and
Yeah,
Mark
we're-
are bringing a buyer there tomorrow.
We're going to go look at it tomorrow. We're going to bring him a buyer. That's how you just had one like that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, absolutely. The one we did in Morgan Hill.
Yeah. There you go.
It's always good to get that text message from the,
I mean, well,
the agent you didn't
because again,
hire.
it
Thanks
goes-
for giving me that
It
commission.
goes back where the client or the individual who's worried about what they're paying for it, right? I mean, they're stepping over pennies or
Dollars.
stepping over dollars getting pennies,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and that happens all the time. And yet, my take on it is the first time I have a client that comes to me, oh, what's your rebate?
Yeah, are you going
I
to
just know where that
discount your
mentality is.
commission? Joe down the street will do it for 1%.
Go hire Joe. He's
hire
great.
Joe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the other property, I'm not going to throw out companies, but do it for a discounted price. Properties end up sitting on the market for 30 plus days, no staging, photographs have the person in it in the mirror taking them. It just doesn't look,
we've
it's
said
Yeah.
time
not
and time
presentable.
again,
iPhone photos.
It blows my mind that these assets we're talking about are generally speaking, especially in our area, like number one or two assets that anybody owns. For
sure.
It really is, right?
If it's number 2, what's number 1?
Uh,
An airplane?
Retirement.
retirement
Oh, okay.
accounts.
Anyway, sorry. I was just
yeah, no,
curious.
generally speaking, it's the number one asset that they own,
Yeah.
right? And yet, when I deal with somebody at that, when you're dealing with a $2 to $3 million listing, which is probably regular
Average,
price around
yeah.
here, right? I mean, if you hire the wrong agent because you're trying to save half a point on a $2 million house is what, 10 grand?
Yeah.
And you're going to go with somebody to drop that 5% or 0.5%. I mean, the person who knows what they're doing, just like if you had cancer or something else, you're going to go to the best doctor you can. You're going to go to the best attorney you can if you have a legal situation. Why would you not hire the best broker you can bring to their table, because they're going to earn their money?
I mean, you said it a bunch of times, and you said it a bunch of times. It takes one slip of the tongue to lose that.
That's just it. The
10
company-
times that money.
The unnamed company you're talking about, they're just a conveyor belt. They want these properties in and out.
Yeah.
They're going to take preemptive offers left and right. They're going to take the first offer that walks on the table. They're not going to create a scenario like we're talking about through the marketing, the staging, the prepping that property, and then the negotiations and the setting up the offer date to ensure that we will not leave a dime on the table when we're done with that transaction.
And that's what shocks me. It's like, even still, like I get it's a discount, but why? How could you not take advantage of someone who's coming in with their own money to do something that you're never going to ask to pay them back for?
I think because, and we can wrap up on this, I think in the mind of the homeowner, it's an intangible thing. So it's hard for them to grasp, right? They know, 1% commission on a piece of paper is a guaranteed thing versus how much they may net, above asking price or whatever by working with someone
and
like
that's why
us.
we've created scale type of commission structures,
Yeah,
right? Hey,
absolutely.
you want $2 million for your house? If we get 1.9, then it's X amount. But if we get 2 million, then it's because that's how much confidence we have in our
and
our
see,
abilities.
and again, not to just jump in here, but I know you want to end this up, but you say scale commission. There's a difference between a scale commission structure and a package commission structure. The people who are offering these package commissions, where it's like, we'll do it for 6, 5.5, or 5%, but you're only going to get this, and this
Right.
from us.
Yeah.
That's not going to even
call
change
BS.
with us. We're still going to do
Yeah,
the
we offer
exact same
everything
thing.
regardless.
And
Isn't that the key? Like when
like
we'll go
package and structure.
when we go to that scenario where it's like 5, 5.5, or 6, we don't care what the hell you pick, because we're going to do the same thing no matter what.
Exactly, because we have faith in ourselves.
absolutely,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
All right. Well, we've talked ourselves up enough.
How did Music in the Park go?
Absolutely awesome.
Those are so fun.
Yeah.
Hey,
although
are
missed
we all
out,
going to
you
be there
guys.
on Sunday?
Yeah.
I'm there. Jeet
I
and I
was
were
there.
there last
Are you there?
night.
Because I thought we should have Jacob come out and do
That would
some
be
recording.
awesome.
Well, check the music. See which music's playing.
All right. Well, we'll do that after the podcast.
All right,
All right.
guys.
That's it.
Take care.
Thanks.
Give us a call if we can help you out. Bye bye.
See you next time.